Nernale Braveli last week from Community Safety le Ausara from Mafulo. And I promised this week you wrote like a conversation in last week. But refocus more on containment. What happens hey case from police station, airport. What are the processes? Lerato, welcome.
Thank you very much.
Nero hopo the last week. Hey, what's happened last week?
Thank you for welcoming me back.
Yeah.
I think I'll just hit the ground running.
No, for those who are waiting, about to introduce
Okay.
Lerato ke mang o tla ale ko kae professional ha ke eng.
Okay, my name is Lerato Mongale-Banda. I am a social worker from Khuluma Family Counseling. Our organization is based at the victim-friendly rooms in the Centurion area.
Welcome.
Thank
so,
you.
Lerato, last week in the a victim at Lango police station, right? Rem amohela ko CSC. From CSC, otla ko VFR, which is a victim-friendly room. What happens? He will receive a client from CSC to victim-friendly room. The procedures they follow again.
So maybe I can start with just sharing who the person will find at the victim-friendly room. They would not necessarily find a social worker. They would find a social auxiliary worker or a victim supporter. And they will be received by either the victim supporter or the social auxiliary worker, who will then assist them to fill in a register to show that they've come to visit us in the VFR. Then they will then move to an office where it will just be the two of them. Yeah. In that office, a screening will be done. Screening basically is part of the containment where the client will relay the kind of service that they would require. Sometimes they're not even sure what kind of service they would require. So then they will relay the issue or challenge that has brought them to the victim-friendly room, whether they were referred by the police or whether they were referred by a friend or someone told them that you need to see social workers. That's where they would end up. So in that process, they would be explaining to either the victim supporter or the social auxiliary worker what challenge has brought them here. Yeah. So when we speak about containment is not particularly the process. Yeah. Rather, containment is where the client or the beneficiary is given an opportunity to actually share whatever emotions. Because remember, some of the cases that we see are those of a very personal nature, where someone has been victimized, something they had not really thought they would experience. Yeah. So sometimes they are overwhelmed with emotion that even for them to give a statement or an account of what has happened is not possible. So that's when then the containment comes in. Okay. Containment is really trying to regulate the emotions, getting the person to a state of calm where they can then be able to relay, this is what happened and this is the kind of help that I need, or this is what happened and I'm not sure what I need to do. Okay. So because emotions can inhibit someone being able to actually state whatever issue that they are going through. So hence the containment part is so important. So sometimes there's clients that would come that we need to contain. It's not necessarily clients that we need to provide services to, but it's someone that probably needs to open a case and the police have said this person is too emotional, we're not able to assist them. Please, can you assist? That's when they would be contained. So when they are contained, it's when they are calmer, emotions are settled. So basically, they are given an ear, and whatever that they are feeling is validated. Because oftentimes you feel like people are not even giving you a chance to speak. Everyone is telling you what needs to happen. So in the victim-friendly room, we are very victim-centered. We allow you the space to share whatever it is that you're going through. And sometimes, remember, the person may be sharing, and whatever that they're sharing is not making sense, because they're giving you bits and pieces of whatever is coming to their mind. So we are able to allow them the space to share until whatever it is that they are going through begins to make sense to them. That's then maybe the person would be relate back to the police to be able to give the statement. But we are also able to call the police to come into the victim-friendly room and continue with the process there, simply because of the environment where the client is feeling a little bit safer, a little bit calmer. The space itself in the victim-friendly room is a space that we really do try hard as organizations, with the assistance of the Department of Social Development, the Department of Community Safety, and in instances, the South African Police Service, to make the space a friendly one, a calm one, where even just by walking into the space, you can feel like, okay, this is, basically. So when we talk about containment and the process that we would undergo in those first instances with our clients or victims or beneficiaries, that's initially what would happen. So after that is done, it will then, the person will be empowered in terms of, these are some of the things to do based on whatever the challenge is. Basically empowered on their rights, because oftentimes people don't even know, I can actually open a case for this. You know, I can get a protection order. So we try to give them options in terms of what they can do. Not everybody would want to open a case. And I think when it's times where we feel that this is something that is really serious, the person probably should think about opening a case. That's when we can also implore on one of the members of the South African Police Service to just come in and explain the gravity of what they have just experienced and why opening a case would be so important. Because sometimes people would feel, but I don't think I want to take that, that step. But they need to understand what taking that step would mean.
Okay. Come who VFR ke collaboration. O boletse ka community safety, o boletse ka DSD, o boletse ka SAPS, ke organizational which is an NPO or NGO, right? So usually batho ba tshaba go tla police station because uniform a rena na ke tsore why community is a utlwane le uniform a SAPS. So go atliwa ka this thing ya gore we need go ba le di VFR gore re kgone go container the complaints tsa re ba feel free gore ba kgone go bolela whatever issues ba faceanang le yone. So go tlo bolela le ka taba ya protection order. Do you assist ka protection order go VFR?
Okay, so at the VFR, we don't assist with the protection order. We are able to give you information about the protection order. And we also advise all our beneficiaries and clients, victims, to consult their nearest domestic violence court. This is where you are able to apply for a protection order. So here in Pretoria, we are very fortunate to have Mosaic, which is an organization based at the domestic violence court, where they're able to assist you with the protection order form. The protection order form can be quite exhausting. So what we try to do at the victim-friendly room is to explain the importance of filling in that form to the T. Although there may be questions that may seem repetitive, we try to explain the importance. Because remember, with this form, you're basically trying to inform the magistrate of your experiences. And why you are fearful of your life. And you need this protection order. The magistrate would have otherwise had no other contact or communication or information about you. So it's so important that you disclose everything and anything that you think, is important. Even things like, if you know or you've heard that this person has had a partner, and even with that partner, they were abusive. If there's texts that you've seen, if there's pictures that you have, it's important for you to include them in your protection order. So basically, the protection order is a representation of your experiences where you have been victimized, where you have felt unsafe, where you have felt that, you are not comfortable to be around this person without some measures in place. And sometimes the protection order can be misunderstood in terms of like it's ending a relationship. And it's not.
But they have a problem with protection order because they think, Hona bjaanong he le protection order gore a gore
we are cutting off
Yeah,
ties.
yeah.
Not necessarily. How I like to explain it is that you've probably had conversations about this person, about the behavior, whether it's controlling, whether it's also abusive, to say, I really don't like when you shout, when you push, when you break my things, because you're trying to, in that intimate partner relationship, you're trying to build something.
yeah
And these are things that we sometimes overlook, and they're actually, in actual fact, red flags that we should be taking note of. So, in that process, when you've had conversations, maybe you even had family meetings about it, if it's within a marriage and it's something that just started or it's been happening, you do have interventions. And the protection order is one of those things, but it's more of a legal document that
Yeah.
is binding,
Yeah.
that is an order of the court, that is recognized
Yeah.
as, you've taken now this step, showing that there's something that is concerning within your relationship with this person. It does not necessarily end the relationship.
Okay.
Of course, it varies, because some of the limitations that would be part of the protection order, they would differ.
Yeah.
So it really depends on situation to situation. But the intention really is to afford the victim some form of protection, to show that they have taken a step in reporting that this is what is happening. And one does not necessarily have to choose between applying for a protection order and opening a case, for instance.
Yeah.
Because sometimes feel, okay, if you're not going to open a case, then at least apply for a protection order.
Yeah.
But you can do the two concurrently. Because, for instance, if this is a relationship that you actually want to end, you no longer want to be with this person,
Yeah.
it means that you would still probably want to go ahead with the case, the opening of the case. But since you're not together and you want to have a sense of safety, you would not want this person to be coming, to your place of work, to your place of residence, to be calling you or checking you out on social media and things like that. And this is where the protection order would then come in play.
Okay.
So you have the protection order and the case is still continuing.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And then in a case where this is my person, I still want to stay with him, but I'm not happy with 1, 2, 3.
Yeah.
And these are things we need to resolve. And sometimes it happens that the two are actually still staying in the same place.
Yes.
It's not always ideal, but sometimes it's not always possible for the people to separate after the protection order has
Yeah.
been issued.
Okay.
This is when then there might be instances where the person is not supposed to be shouting at their partner, beating them, being, verbally abusive or emotionally abusive. Those would be the stipulations that are stated in the protection order. So we are in the same space, but these are things that you need to adhere to. Should you do any one of these things, you would be in violation
Yes.
of your protection order. So if I'm the holder of that protection order, I can then, go to the nearest police station, whether if the warrant of arrest is in my possession, to say that this person has violated the protection order, can the process then
Straight arrest.
continue? If you're in protection, in possession
Yeah.
rather, of the
Protection order.
warrant of arrest.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So, Lerato, tell me, usually the cases that you are dealing with, here we the counseling. What kind of cases? So, when I got the common, man. Usually, you deal with so, the counseling. What kind of cases are you dealing with? Without mentioning Bambazona, but the overall, when I check, or these are the kind of cases that I deal with. Hekira counseling.
They vary, but I would say it's in most cases intimate partner violence, which we deem as domestic violence,
Yeah.
where it's a couple who is either going through some problems, it may be trust issues, or there's someone who is having extramarital affairs. For those who are not married, someone is cheating or suspecting that someone is cheating, where someone is still in the relationship and investing in the relationship, and the other one seems not to be, but the other person is not really ready to accept.
Yeah.
Where people are separating, where there's divorce, and the relationship is not allowing them to even proceed with whatever that they need to see to. Remember, we have people that are married. We have people that are married in the eyes of the law. We have people by long lobola, but maybe habaso it's mahlabiso and things like that.
Yeah.
So the marriage has not been registered,
Yeah.
you know, and our customary law.
Mm.
Because in order for you to register, you would have to have gone through all of those processes.
Mm-hmm.
So these would be people that are in between those relationships. So they have been, you know, cohabiting for quite some time. So you would deem it, you know, as a marriage. That's how they would feel. Although legally, and even if we look at customary law, they are not.
Mm.
So these are some of the cases that I would see where it's really relationship issues.
Yeah.
And then there's children involved. Sometimes there's property involved.
Yeah. Relationships. I know ke a utlwa. Ke batla ho tsentsha our other guest o fihlile. Finally ka le re boemetse e ke mmethela matsoho ke na le matsoho mo. Yeah, yes. Na le matsoho. First we welcome guest ya rena hore a di introduce re khone ho move on. So as Lerato banna, right? Go na le banna ba leng hore tholo nna le bona ba attenda counseling ko VFR. Okay. Nna ke utlwa ba re banna nke ba reporta. So ba reporta banna. Guys, it means ra bereka. If men are coming forward, ba tla ba kry-a counseling and information a bona e secret ha e botsewe motho ebile nna ne re sa itse le hore banna they still ba tla ba tlo reporta case go wena. What do you usually say to banna he ba tlile or maybe to the victim tse di tlang go?
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. So how we try to view this is a collective issue. It's not a female, it's not a male issue. So even in addressing, yes, we can understand that we are different as men and women, but some of the issues that we face are the same. And as a social worker, it's important to afford confidentiality to both parties in the same way. What is most important to even begin the process is for people to feel safe, comfortable to share. Because remember, sometimes we are speaking, whether it's a man or woman, you're speaking about this for the first time. You have never spoken about this before.
Yeah.
Your family may know from what they've seen, but you may not have necessarily spoken to them. So it's the first time that you're talking about it. So obviously, if you are even hearing yourself speaking about something for the first time, it's a bit scary.
Yeah.
It's really scary because then you start to see the gravity of what this actually is.
Yeah.
And if this is after 5 years, 10 years, 3 years, 2 years of marriage or a relationship where people have been saying, but we see and we see this, now you are finally saying, I see it too. So this is why our space is one way we don't judge at all.
Yeah.
We don't judge. And in as much as I'm a social worker by profession, I'm not a profession when it comes to your life.
Yes.
And your emotions. So when we are in that room, you are the profession.
Oh, okay.
The professional rather. I am there to guide and support you in the direction that you want to go.
Yeah.
So should you want to go towards a direction of healing, understanding and getting yourself, getting to know yourself better, because people lose themselves in some of these issues that they go through. And you become someone that even you can recognize.
Yes.
Hence, when someone asks, so what do you want? You can't answer because you've lost yourself so much. So we really try to create that safe space where the person can feel comfortable even to go to places where they wouldn't even dare go. Yeah.
All right. No, good. Ne ke re kenya go pinyella nyana ka taba banna ke utlo re wa tswa wa phunyoha. Last week Braveli mentioned gore we need to train police officers, NGOs, social workers how to deal with men, because banna ba na le di-ego. So aba ase hanchi ka kreya abatla to come forward, so we need to find a way ya gore re train barking our support system to deal le banna. I don't know if o nyaka go commenta more before. Are we trained enough to deal with men?
I think I beg to differ. We are trained to deal with people.
Okay.
We are trained to deal with people, and men and women are people.
Yes.
I think the most important thing is for us to be visible
Yeah.
and to be trustworthy
Yeah.
as organizations, as departments.
Yeah.
Because anyone is not going to step into a space where they've seen that people have been ridiculed for coming forward.
Yeah.
So I think we need to hold ourselves accountable, hold each other accountable as departments and organizations to preserve the safety of all our males and females.
Yeah.
And to kind of break that stereotypical thinking that we are not able to support.
Yeah.
Because remember, you can't also support someone who's not willing to come in and access the service.
Yes.
But if we can be accessible and prove ourselves to be trustworthy, then people will access. People are accessing our services. We have organizations that deal primarily with men.
Okay. I know. Late. All right. Thank you very much for joining us. Ke kopa o te introduce hape so that re tseya banong docket re isa court. A ke re butse case ko VFR e masitswe e na le case number. Ashile e tshwere ke le focus ile court. So we have someone from court to explain the processes le hore go etsahalang ka batho ba senang tsebe. So can you introduce yourself?
Thank you for the opportunity. Lebua le Christine Molautsi, Senior Prosecutor in the Pretoria Cluster. Where do I start? Oh, if I was a victim of domestic violence today, I wouldn't survive. More police station. It took me 20 minutes just to find where the room is.
Yeah.
With all the people there, guys, the police stations need to be public friendly. I'm frustrated. But anyway, where were we now?
Yeah, okay. Re butse case ko police station. Right, etla go lena banong. So we need to know the processes. How do you deal with case first time gonna if it na le domestic violence, somebody who abuses it physically, J88 ashi, the case docket ashi. What's the process?
The first time when a case appears, we don't see victims. They're not subpoenaed. We are dealing now with the perpetrator.
Yeah.
And in the first instance, I would like just to say, it's such a, we are now in a good space where the Domestic Violence Act has been, improved.
Yes.
I'll say revamped, because it now, we had some uncertainties with the Act of 116 of 98, where it will just talk of a person being abused emotionally, and we don't understand as prosecutors, when you say emotionally, how are we going to prove emotionally beyond reasonable doubt?
Yes.
So the Act has now inserted new definitions and broadened the spectrum, so we know exactly what we're dealing with.
Yeah.
It has also changed the laws with regards to the bail applications and how to handle perpetrators. So on your first appearance, you will find where the perpetrator will now have to, it's no longer a Schedule 1 offense where you just quickly hear the bail application because you need to go back home and go back to work.
Yeah.
There is a General Law Amendment Act which came into effect in 2022, whereby when you are the perpetrator now, it's very difficult for you to get bail. Remember now, previously, even at the police station, if you had just slapped a person by the hand, then you would get bail. But the law has gotten tougher. The perpetrator now has to disclose to the court before the bail application, because even a prosecutor after hours cannot go and give bail.
Yeah.
Now you have to disclose to the court whether you have contravention orders against you.
Okay.
It becomes a Schedule 5 where you need to prove to the court it's in the interest of justice for you to be given bail.
Yeah.
It's no longer, I'm here, can we have bail? I have my address. It's also essential for when you apply for bail for the victim to give their inputs on their safety, because the court has to ensure that everything else has gone well.
Yeah.
And usually, people should be very careful now, because the investigating officer would not have having time to go and check on your profile.
Yeah.
So we usually give a chance in terms of Section 50, subsection 6. It's 7 days in custody for us to check previous and pending cases. We'll also now need to get the statement from the complainant on whether to bring her in or not, to
Yeah.
give a statement as regards to bail,
Yeah.
whether you can be admitted to bail or not.
Okay.
So that is how difficult it is.
7 days.
7 days.
Yo. Yeah. Wa utlwa o kgona ya 7 days for domestic violence. Wena o bethile motho na nore o mo founela wa re baby sorry maswitsi a shia le di chocolate wa na nore o drop a case. It's not that easy anymore.
And it is not only because the Act has broadened up the what are these definitions?
Yes.
It can be that you said to somebody, because there's also now religious abuse.
Yes.
Or you could be just that somebody was or evil person, because women are subjected to it. Abuse physically or hides under emotion. You get where people now emotionally, they say it's spiritual abuse. They call it spiritual abuse in the Act.
Okay.
Where now the person or a link weaker is now subjected. You get into a marriage, you are Muslim, you are Christian, and you don't stand my beliefs. So I need to be subservient, because where now you have a lot of money that you can carry out.
Yeah.
You can give, and I can't. So only spiritual abuse more, because now you have to do this. You can't practice your beliefs in my house because I'm Muslim. You can't pray at this time because this is my time to do whatever.
Yeah.
That it can be proven that you've gotten a protection order which says don't abuse this person spiritually. You go on. You will still stay. You will still prove to the court that you will not take over this woman's life.
Yeah.
You will give her space. She will be safe to practice her religious activities in your house while you're still together.
Okay.
So it's not only about fists. You will also, if a woman has an interest in anything, you alienating property that she has interest in. You both have a car and you're selling cars without her knowing. She is entitled to money because of marriage, and you keeping it from her. Financial abuse.
Yeah.
It's also described. Or you belittling her or insulting her in front of the kids.
Yeah.
It's now 2 charges there. The insults to the woman and exposing the children to
that
violent behavior, and that includes insults or assaults, and that is very difficult for you. Then how do you just say the children need to quickly get bail and go and work for your kids after you expose them to such violence?
Yeah, no, yeah, it's tough. Ke a utlwa o boletse hore ba ithafenile is strong hona bjana. So ke nyako tlamo protection order. You mentioned protection order, and Lerato, as Lerato, you mentioned protection. The importance of protection order. What can we say to what we are lebelletseng, emphasizing the importance of protection order?
Remember now, there are laws that need to protect abused women.
Yes.
Or men.
Yes.
People don't talk. But if there's a law on your side that is going to come, that is placed there to protect you,
Yes.
it's just in simple terms to protect people from abuse within the unit, the family, the relation where you share a relationship. There you need a protection order. It's to protect you from anything, like I'm saying, from physical abuse, from mental abuse, from financial abuse, from spiritual abuse, and all kinds of abuses.
I would also just say or add that, protection order is not something that is considered by a lot of people. But if we can think about the processes that we go through when we are having issues in the relationship, we consult with our churches, our pastors, we consult with our rabbis, we consult with the women's prayer group, we consult with our families. We go through so many processes, and we don't always go to the police first. And it's a given because everyone has a right, to proceed how they deem fit. So a protection order should also form somewhere in that line of the things that you are going to consult for assistance. This is something that you should consider because this is something that has been provisioned by law for you to access when you've gone through all of those and none of them have been able to assist you.
Yeah.
Especially in an instances, as Christina mentioned that, and I think I mentioned it earlier as well. If you don't want to leave and you still want to stay, and it's just these things that you need, your partner to stop doing or realize that you are causing harm to me by doing this. I still love you, but when you do this, it really hurts me.
Yeah.
This is where it can actually help and step in. Because essentially all it's doing is saying, stop these certain behaviors and you can continue as normal.
Okay. All right. Ask Christina. So, are you sentencing? Wait. Are you sentencing? Yeah, domestic violence, gender-based violence. It's a mabiang. It's a okam. Ke lebane ke mengwahe me kae? Ke lebane ke dikgwedi tse kae? Ke lebane ke nako e kanang if ke findiwa guilty.
I'm so glad the Amendment Act it has strengthened abused people. I wouldn't say women because it's abused people. Before, all the cases were dealt with in the district courts, in the lower courts. So about 3 years, and people would just repeat. Motho o tla bana le protection order, but still I disregard it. And a repeated offender coming in and nothing happens to them.
Yeah.
Got the General Law Amendment Act, which came into effect in 2022. The law now says if it's an assault GBH on your wife, like if you take you throw a fork and maybe on her face and she becomes bruised or on a lady scars, wounds, not scars. If there are wounds, then it means it falls under minimum sentences. For a first offender, you can now go for a period of not exceeding 10 years, meaning anything up to 10 years.
Okay. For first offender.
First offender. It actually goes to the regional court. Even if you assault, even if it's not GBH, but you assault a child, age difference, the perpetrator is more than 4 years than the child.
Yeah.
It goes to the regional court if there are injuries.
Yes.
If you assault somebody who is paraplegic now, my English went.
Someone that is living with a disability.
Yes, it also now goes to the regional court.
Yes.
Before we even go there, we have the duty now. This act places the duty on us to report.
Yeah.
I know that Lerato is being abused. I need to report it to a social worker or the police.
Yes.
Whether Lerato likes it or not, if I know or if I suspect, not even know, if I
Yeah.
suspect that something is happening in Lerato, I need to go and whistleblow. I think there's an abuse going on and it needs assistance. So it is no longer I'll get 3 months quickly or a suspended sentence now.
Yeah.
GBV. It's been taken very seriously.
It's very, yeah, no. If one is looking at a minimum of 10 years as a first time offender,
Maximum is a first time.
it's maximum 10 years. Yo. Yeah, bafethu. Ladies, la utlwa hore molao o strong too much when it comes to this pandemic. So, we will invite the correctional services so that they can tell us how accept the correctional facility. Yeah, what are the processes? So that people can understand gender-based violence, domestic violence is very serious and has been taken serious by our government. Right? So, Arbolelega perpetrator who arrested, who sentenced with the correctional service, right? What kind of assistance can the perpetrator also be given? Because agere motohere mo correct, we don't expect for a the very same offense. So are there programs tse leng hore re di fa the perpetrators when? As Lerato?
Yes, there are programs. We actually have an organization, NECRO. It's a national organization here in South Africa that actually offers perpetrator programs. And in their programs, they are able to assist perpetrators to understand some of the behaviors, that have made them be perpetrators, to better understand how they can be better men, talking about toxic masculinity. Look, I'm not an expert in their programs, but really what they try to do is to assist the men to better understand, why did I find myself here? How can I improve? What are some of my triggers? What are some of the factors that have gotten me in this position? As Christina mentioned, that when there is domestic violence in the home, it does not just affect the woman or the man. It also affects the children and whoever that is within that family. So it's really to assist the perpetrator to be able to understand themselves, what it is about themselves that they need to change, what it is about themselves that makes them react and allow their emotions to get to that point where they can harm someone else, whether it's verbally, physically, or otherwise. So there are programs that are available. And, although I mentioned now that NECRO provides these to perpetrators. Perpetrators, not men, not women, but perpetrators.
If I may just add, in fact, the programs can even be before the sentencing stage.
Okay.
Where the person has been diverted from the formal criminal justice system. I usually encounter that on first appearance, your victim does not need to be there. But women come in to plead for the husbands or victims come in to plead that matters be withdrawn, because it has not only been women, men as well have done it.
Okay.
Where they will come and say, I was angry and the family wants to get us together and we can talk. Sometimes as a prosecutor, you're not an expert, but you don't want to break families as well.
Yes.
If the matter is not that serious, then you can direct the people if the man accepts that I am at fault here and I'm sorry about it. You send the person to the social worker instead of you breaking the family. And sometimes even if you send the man to jail, you're not helping the situation because he's not learning anything from it. He might come back even a hardened criminal. So we give them a chance to do diversions where the NICRO program is also included, where the social worker will then send them on various courses to train or to equip them on how to deal with their lives and everything else. So it is important as well that we just don't decide we are going to be tough on the law and we're sending these men to jail.
Yeah.
We need to also look at how we would better the community, how men would learn something from their actions. Because sometimes you do wrong only to learn later how to do it right, and you realize and you even teach other people. I went through this and this is what I was taught and it has worked out well.
Okay. Yeah, no, we are getting educated.
If I could also just add something.
Yes.
So, in between someone coming to the VFR and the perpetrator being arrested, regardless of who it is, there's also court support services that are available where victims are able to access, it can be quite daunting just even opening the case. So when the case has been opened and you're not really sure about what is supposed to happen, how are you supposed to, prepare yourself? What are some of the expectations? Sometimes it's just dealing with the emotions of, what have I done? So there is court support services that are also available to people in that process.
Okay, all right. Yeah, no. I pick up with something when you spoke about a perpetrator aba o checka remorse. Yeah, high here at the court. O checka hore, but this person will understand the crime I committed, and then o kono ya through the programs. Tse leng hore la mo director to tsona okay. Here are the programs. Programs tse o di na le nako. Or you are going for a month, you are going for 2 months, or just as long as you are together, you guys, you need to go through this program for every month. In a programs too.
Yes, I've had perpetrators that have actually gone on anything between 3 months and a year.
Okay.
We're waiting for, they deal with the social worker, so I would give the perpetrator to the social worker.
Okay.
She will then proceed with the programs, and I will get a report that says he has done well or he has not done well. So if he has done well, then we know he can go back because he has learned. If he has not, then we proceed with prosecution as if nothing happened.
Okay. All right, all right. We are 10 minutes away from ending this show. 1 hour Kenyan.
Really?
Yo, 1 hour
It really
Kenyan.
is.
So closing remarks, Aus Lerato, from your side, what can you say?
Can we have the protection order as a means or as an option when we want to consult or when we are facing whatever issue it is? Consider the victim-friendly rooms, consider the police, consider this protection order as something that you can add on that list. Not just your friends, your family members, your muruti. Have this as an option as well. If anything, at least try to find out more about it. How can it help you? I think we've shared about some of the restrictions that it can place and how it can protect you. So I think my plea would be, I think I said it even the last time, let's access the services that are available. The protection order was there for us to be able to use it to assist us in these situations that we are in, regardless of whether you want to stay, you want to leave. But consider it as an option. And remember that having a protection order doesn't mean you can't open a case. You can do both at the same time.
Okay.
Just to add more protection order with Lerato, I think it is essential for you, for anybody, any victim, to get a protection order. Remember, I get a lot of cases where I said, first appearance, people come to me and say, we want to withdraw the case.
Yeah.
My explanation is, and some women you can see, they have this battered woman syndrome where, I don't want this man here, but I can't because he supports me and I'm afraid and the family is on me and I can't do anything else. The case now becomes my case. You are now the victim and my witness, but this case is the state case. So it is up to me. You can't withdraw any case. It's up to the senior prosecutor, not even an ordinary prosecutor is supposed to withdraw the domestic violence case.
Okay.
It's up to a senior prosecutor to say, no, I will, or look at the circumstances before withdrawing. So I'd rather opt for a diversion program instead of withdrawing than to just withdraw. Ladies, gentlemen, the law is on your side. Victims of crime, the law is on your side. Please use this wisely, because just sitting there and thinking I can't do or I'm dependent on somebody else really needs to come to a stop. We can build a better community. We can build better communities if we stick to how things are done properly.
Just something that I also just like to touch on. You know, with the protection order, even when someone has threatened your life, because sometimes we want to wait until, and you don't know if this person has threatened you to say they are going to harm you. And sometimes people can be very descriptive in terms of how. Just consult to find out, with what I've experienced, am I able to apply for a protection order? Because I think maybe now you might leave here thinking, okay, I have to wait for something to happen before I apply for a protection order. Whatever you've been experiencing, if you have been threatened, those are also grounds to apply for a protection order.
One interesting thing about the new amendment is, even if you threaten the child and with beating up, that now in the Domestic Violence Act is now included. So you can get a protection order for saying, yay, I'll show you. So that is an offense that is now, that can be put in a protection order. So you don't threaten children anymore. So threats of such nature can get you into trouble.
Yeah. I wanna even the floor but not over. Yeah, no, we are learning. No, little threaten bana. Ke tlo le biletsa maphodisa ya tronkong. Ba tla o bulela a ke ba threatena bana ka maphodisa. He ngwana stout go ntlong ba re o bitsa maphodisa. Ba tlo discipline. That's why bana ba re tshaba. Oh, okay. Ke a leboha man for this interview. Thank you so much for your time. I don't know. We are going to have you once a month, not every week, but once a month. Would love to have you so that we can share this information with our viewers, because now I've learned a lot of things. As a first-time offender, you can get a maximum of 10 years imprisonment. I didn't know. And I guess a lot of people never say it, but they know. There are programs where you can go as partners to be assisted. There are those programs that Lerato mentioned something. Are usually offer counseling about domestic violence. People in a relationship, they are fighting either physically, emotionally. Those are the people who offer counseling a lot. And one thing in cases today, Lerato, you mentioned where there are men that are coming for counseling. It's for the first time this is our 7th episode, but you mentioned where men are coming forward.